The following program is intended for mature audiences.
What do you say we have a rock and roll party?
You're listening to Basically a Sports Show.
Follow us on Twitter at Basically Sports.
Subscribe to our podcast on iTunes.
And check out every episode of the show at basicallysports.tumblr.com.
Now here's your hosts, Zach,
Greg, Mike.
And you're listening to Basically a Sports Show.
A little bit of a departure for Basically a Sports Show tonight. It's going to be a 4-hour episode. We're going to be devoting the first 2 hours to in-depth analysis of the NBA All-Star Game, and we'll follow that up with in-depth analysis of the Daytona 500. So I'm sure you guys are all in for...
I know one thing about both of those events. I know Fergie fucked up the national anthem pretty hard, and I know that Aaron Rodgers is now dating Danica Patrick. That's what I learned about the Daytona 500.
He went from Olivia Munn to Danica Patrick?
That's what I thought, too.
Wow.
Right?
You don't do any better than Olivia Munn. I'm sorry, but that's the top of the mountain.
I guess they've been together for like 2 months maybe now.
Okay.
But there was a picture that was like he gave her a good luck kiss before the race.
I'm going to have a talk with that boy.
From what little I know about NASCAR, she needs all the help she can get.
She ran her last race in NASCAR yesterday, and she's retiring now.
Oh, well.
She was one of those F1 drivers that came over and thought, how hard can it be? But I don't think she took into account how much bigger and heavier and harder to handle the cars are. She did okay. I mean, she wasn't great, but she wasn't terrible either. But F1 and NASCAR are completely separate animals, and it's a tough crossover to make.
One is superior to the other, but okay.
Right. NASCAR is absolutely superior. I agree. I'm trying to think of
right turns.
If there's an F1 driver that made a pretty good there's AJ Foyt going way back like 1,000 years, but of recent vintage, Juan Pablo Montoya was okay on the NASCAR circuit coming over from F1, but that's about it. It's a tough thing.
What about Sacha Baron Cohen from?
Right. But yeah, I'm assuming that neither of you watched the race, and I wasn't expecting you to. I enjoyed it. It was a good one.
It was the 60th?
60th, yes.
Yeah. See, I think NASCAR lost a lot of its luster when the cigarette companies stopped sponsoring the championship. There's something so perfect about like cigarettes sponsoring the NASCAR championship.
Right.
Like that's fitting, right?
Tell me which sounds better, the Monster Energy Cup or the Winston Cup? Come on. It's not even a contest, right?
I thought it was Nokia. Or the Nokia Cup or something like that, or did they change it again?
It was Nextel.
Nextel. It went from Nextel to Sprint when Sprint took over Nextel. Mm-hmm. And I think the Sprint sponsorship ended last year, and it became the Monster Energy, NASCAR, whatever, blah, blah, blah. But the Winston Cup, for the longest time, I had no idea it was named after cigarettes. I thought it was just this regal-sounding name, but it's actually based on a tobacco product.
Yeah, it's like learning Wrigley Field was actually named after the gum people.
Mm-hmm.
Or like the Great Western Forum, right? Like I just thought that was the name of the building. Like, oh, it's the Great Western Forum.
Great American Ballpark.
I thought the same about Great American Ballpark, yeah.
I thought, what an awesome name for a ballpark, and then I find out it's a grocery store or something, right? Great American?
It was insurance.
Insurance? I'm not sure what they are, but they're a company. They're not.
Insurance. Well, none of them stack up to such greats as, Guaranteed Rate Field.
or was it the Smoothie King?
Sleep Train Arena in Sacramento.
I really hope they keep that sponsorship when they go to the new arena in Sacramento.
Well, they already got rid of that one. They're already in the new arena. It's
are they? Okay.
Golden One Pavilion, something like that.
Was it the Guaranteed Rate? Was that the really horrible name that they gave Comiskey a few years back? Yeah.
Nothing beats Glendale Jobbing.com arena.
No matter what Indian casino it's owned by now, it is still going to be the Jobber Dome.
Yeah,
Places used to have cool names.
University of Phoenix Stadium, which is just confusing on like at least 3 levels.
Wait, so it's the stadium for the university? No. Oh.
The university doesn't actually have a football team.
It's not even based in Arizona, right? I mean, that's probably
they have headquarters in Arizona.
Oh, do they?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
The actual University of Phoenix is in South Tempe.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Well, good luck with those degrees from there. I mean, more power to you. I mean, education is education. I get that, but there are online schools that are better than that one. That
notable alumni such as Shaq, Larry Fitzgerald, and then these other people, Howard Schmidt, Kirkland Donald.
Why do I get the feeling Larry Fitzgerald only got a degree from there as part of like the naming deal?
Why wouldn't Larry Fitzgerald go back to Pitt to finish his degree?
Because he was in a bunch of University of Phoenix commercials.
Oh, okay.
Like
he plays at University of Phoenix Stadium.
Like I'm pretty sure that would have been part of the deal. Like University of Phoenix Stadium was like, we want to pay for the naming rights to your football stadium. The Cardinals were like, all right, but you got to give Larry Fitzgerald a degree.
We have some other people like Randy Livingston.
Who is Randy Livingston? Yeah, no idea.
Mike, do you remember Sanders Ozolinsh?
I do.
Yes, I
played
do.
for the Senators, right?
Played for the Mighty Ducks. He wore number 8 while Temu was with the Sharks.
But did he not play for the Senators for a time too?
It's possible. I will click on his name right now.
That's where I remember him from.
He was like the biggest star of Latvian hockey for a very long time. He played for the... Did not play for Ottawa.
Okay, who did he play for besides the Ducks?
Dynamo Riga in Latvia. San Jose Sharks, Colorado Avalanche, Carolina Hurricanes, Florida Panthers,
Hurricanes is where I remember him from.
Rangers.
I knew there was a red jersey in there somewhere. It was the Hurricanes.
Then he went back to Dynamo Riga and finished off his career for Atlant Moscow Oblast.
Okay. I knew that there was a red jersey in there somewhere, and it was Carolina. That's where I remember him from. He was in one of my video games. Sandis Ozolinsh. Remember the name.
Yes. Him and Artis Urbe were Team Latvia for like the 90s and 2000s.
Yeah.
I must have 20...
But also a famous University of Phoenix alumni.
I must have
for him.
25 Artis Urbe hockey cards.
Oh yeah, most of mine though were from the Sharks. For some reason, I just like the brief period I was into hockey cards like landed right during Urbe's tenure with the Sharks.
I love his pads.
He wore the same pads his entire career.
Yeah, he never got new hockey pads.
His justification was, if you're a hockey player, you move around a lot. So why am I going to keep buying different pads? I'll just wear white pads everywhere I go.
Oh, see, that would drive me nuts. I would have to have my stuff would have to match my uniform, or I just wouldn't be able to play.
Well, there was that one time where Chris Osgood played for the Islanders, but didn't get rid of his Red Wings pants.
Yeah.
that red really looked good with the orange and blue, I'm sure.
Oh yeah.
There's plenty of goalies that
But wouldn't that
and
drive you nuts if you were wearing stuff that not only didn't match, wasn't even like part of the same color scheme? That would drive me crazy. I wouldn't be able to do it.
It would drive me crazy too, but
there was some goalie that got traded, and when he got traded, he got a blank mask just to until his new one came in. But he had such a good start in the blank mask that he just kept using it. I think it was Tim Thomas. He got traded somewhere.
Tim Thomas has the weirdest goalie masks, by the way.
He had just a white mask and kept wearing it for a while. I was like,
who was the guy? What's his name? Is it Jake Allen from the played with the Blues that had the white mask and just had a little decal on it?
There you go. There's Chris Osgood right after he went to the Islanders from the Red Wings.
Let me see this.
It's literally all Red Wings gear except the jersey. It's like they got traded mid-game or something.
It's like I could understand the pads, but did he really need to wear the red pants?
Right. Did the Islanders seriously not have an extra pair of breezers hanging around?
I didn't realize he did the same thing. He has the Hasek mask going on, the Billy Smith style. He didn't do the cage.
Which I actually asked someone about in the pro shop of the rink I played in growing up. I asked, hey, should I've been thinking about going to the Hasek mask, and what I was told is that it was actually dangerously unsafe.
Yeah, you don't have near the protection.
Yeah, and so they're just stick with real goalie masks. Okay.
The Hasek wore one like that. I guess Osgood. There was
Dan Cloutier.
Yeah, Cloutier, right.
Cloutier actually had a real mask that he wore in practice, but he claimed that it was too constricting.
Wow.
Yeah, because that's what prevented Dan Cloutier from having the great NHL career.
From achieving greatness, That's what held the Canucks back all those years.
And he couldn't stop
for all those years he was with the Canucks. Anytime I saw him online, it was a picture of him with a beach ball behind him. That was like my first introduction to internet memes, was Dan Cloutier with a beach ball.
If you type Dan Cloutier space into Google, the next thing it fills in is beach ball.
God, really?
Yes. Go Dan Cloutier space bar. It's the first one is beach ball.
God.
What does that say about your career?
Oh, here's another. It's not a beach ball, but it is in keeping with the theme.
That picture Mike just posted is the first one that showed up in my Google search, too.
There you go.
Oh, I like the next one. I don't know if you've got it, Mike. It's the second one. Here, I'll post it. The giant puck in the net.
Yeah, it's like, Dan Cloutier, that's, if only you had worn a real helmet, maybe this could have been averted.
I think I like the big puck better than the beach ball. God. He was Richter's backup for a while with the Rangers, wasn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I got a picture of him here in the Lady Liberty jersey.
Yeah.
And he
they had
also
high hopes for him, if I remember right.
He was also on the endless cycle of Kings goalies during their dark years.
Yes, he was one of the many Kings greats that filled the nets in the late 90s, early 2000s.
Some of these beach ball shots are fucking hysterical.
I love the one where he has his leg kicked up.
With Patrick Sharp scoring on him? Yeah, that's nice. That's cool.
Just like sprawling, like, I have to stop this. Beach ball.
Damn, he's played for everybody, hasn't he?
A lot of teams, yeah.
Dan Cloutier should become the unofficial mascot of Basically a Sports Show.
Yeah, definitely. Wow. I don't know. Is that him? Did he play for the Leafs at some point, Mike?
Honestly, I don't remember it, but like the Kings, the Leafs kind of had a brief period after Ed Belfour retired where there was just a string of goalies.
Oh my
Felix
God.
Potvin years.
Ed Belfour was a pretty good goalie.
The Leafs had Cujo, right? And Kirk Joseph, and he was their guy for many years until he went to Detroit. And Belfour came right in after Joseph, and so Belfour was actually the goalie for the Leafs in the tail end of that late 90s, early 2000s playoff contender Leafs team.
Yeah.
So he was he was there right as the window was closing. And he played in I want to say 2 or 3 playoff series Ed Belfour did where he had pretty good showings as the Maple Leafs.
Yeah, I remember him being pretty good. He was pretty good, right? Belfour. Yeah.
So if you go to Dan Cloutier's Wikipedia page, the picture is Dan Cloutier in a Canucks jersey on the bench with his head down.
Yeah, they couldn't find a picture of him actually playing because all of them have been doctored to have beach balls in them. I don't think there's photographic evidence of him playing without a beach ball in the ice.
Oh, Dan Cloutier.
I love mid '90s NHL goaltenders. Some of my favorite, one of my favorite subjects.
Oh yeah, I gotta see. Next time I'm at my parents' place, I'm gonna dig through some of my old effects because I had this. I had this book. It was from 1999 or 2000, but it had it was a book about all of the goalies, and it had all of their mascot and a little.
Oh yeah,
all of them. And yeah, I need to find one. I need to dig that up. Oh, God.
Yeah,
isn't that a great shot?
It really is.
So, but I need to dig that up because it wasn't just the big ones. It wasn't just the goal. It wasn't just it wasn't just Brodeur and Waugh. There were some interesting ones. There's Steve Shields. I remember.
I remember Steve Shields.
Yeah,
and
I remember Steve Shields as the piece of garbage that we traded Teemu Selanne for.
Wow, really?
Great trade, guy. Yeah.
You traded Teemu Selanne for Steve Shields?
Traded Teemu Selanne to the San Jose Sharks in exchange for Steve Shields and Jeff Friesen.
I don't think I would have made that deal. Granted, I'm no hockey expert, but I'm not making that deal.
I mean, I'm trying to put myself in the mind of that mid-2000s mindset, and even back then, it doesn't make sense.
No.
Yeah, was Selanne towards the end of his career or what?
No.
So somebody thought Steve Shields for Timo Solani was a good idea.
Yeah.
Wow.
The only way it makes sense is if they knew behind the scenes that he wasn't happy.
Yeah,
with
Pierre
the
Goff.
situation.
I believe it was. I'm trying to make sure it's the right Pierre that I'm gonna slather here.
McGuire. Please be Pierre.
No. Okay, it was Pierre Paget. Was the general manager of the Anaheim Ducks at the time. Not a great guy.
What was the logic behind that? I mean, was Shields like considered an up and coming goalie? Or what?
No, he's Steve Shields.
I know, but I'm just saying, that
they were trying to get Timu's salary off the books or something. I don't know.
Because there was a time that people thought that Dan Cloutier was an up and coming goalie. Well, it turns out, I mean, he was for beach ball memes, but other than that, it didn't work out.
The only way it makes sense is if, like, at the time they knew that Timo Solani wasn't happy, or they knew they weren't going to reach a deal on a new contract, and they just said, "Let's just get what we can for him while we still have him." Like, that's the only way it makes sense.
I'm trying to see. I think it's on the Wikipedia page somewhere.
And even then, like, if I had Timo Solani, but I knew I couldn't keep him, and I had to trade him, I'd like to think I'd be able to leverage him for more than just Steve Shields.
Yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't say why. Just that in the 2001 season, the Ducks started playing worse, and Timu and Paul's point production dipped a little bit. So they thought, oh, we better trade one of these guys. So they traded Timo Solani for Jeff Friesen, Steve Shields, and a second-round pick.
Just for fun, I looked up Dan Cloutier's career stats. His career save percentage, .899. That's not great.
It's not. No.
His best season was where he actually played some games. Let me see here. Looks like 2003, 2004 with the Canucks. Was a .914. That's not like god awful bad, is it? Goals against average 2.27. That's pretty pedestrian.
I mean, it's not bad at all by any stretch.
That was by far and away his best season. I mean, there's a lot more. Let's see, 885, 892, 891, 894, 860. That was only in 24 games. Jesus, that dude was a sieve that year. Anyway, I just wanted to see like what he did.
And now back to the Cloutier cast. All things Dan Cloutier, all the time.
That's what we're here for.
Well, it's either that or talk about the NBA All-Star Game.
I mean, we could.
Well, I don't want to talk about the game. Did you see the national anthem by Fergie?
Yes.
I actually have not seen this.
Oh, Mike.
Okay. Now look, I wasn't paying that close of attention, but I have to ask: was the music supposed to sound like it was a completely different song?
I don't know,
because that's what it sounded like to me.
Basically, Mike. Her rendition ended up sounding something like this. My favorite part of the song is the words "banner yet wave." Mm-hmm. It went from "Oh say does that star spangled banner yet wave." Hers was "banner yet wave." That's what she did. "Banner yet wave." And then she had a fine, like the Land of the Free, Home of the Brave. That last thing was pretty bad. And she just brave. Let's play some basketball. Woo! It's just like, no, let's not do that. Let's cancel everything. We're done now.
She apologized.
Let's all go home. Let's all go home and feel bad about this.
She apologized for it, for the national anthem.
Oh, good.
Yeah. I'm trying to find a video of her actually singing it.
Okay, so it's great because I just pulled up the video of her singing it, and they kind of cut to the players, and they kind of have this look where it's like, what the hell?
Oh, yeah.
Draymond Green looked confused, and then he finally just said, fuck it,
the reaction from the players were the best part.
Yeah. Hang on, he's Fergie singing national anthem.
The reaction was solid.
They didn't do the East versus West thing, though, this year, did they?
No.
So they picked players, didn't they, or something like that?
Yeah. So here, I want to bring this up too. Now, I know that that there's a lot of people that are in a love fest over the NBA right now because it's so exciting and whatever. But we've gone over this, like the middle teams, just because all the middle compete each other doesn't mean it's exciting. When people talk about why the NBA is entertaining right now is because all the beef and the off-court stuff, and it's like a reality show and whatever.
Oh, okay.
I don't care. But people are praising the NBA for this format and like, oh, it's so interesting because of all the beefs and stuff. And now you have this where everybody's playing with each other. Like Kevin Durant has to play with Russell Westbrook and oh my gosh, so crazy. And it's like, can we stop? Can you people like realize that they're not even the first or the second league to do this?
The NHL and the NFL already did this.
They already did it and abandoned it. Both of them have done it and abandoned it in the time that the NBA decided to finally do it.
The consensus it was from both the NFL and the NHL was like, this was fun for a year or two, and then the novelty wore off.
Exactly.
The novelty wore off, but people didn't want to be picked last and whatever. And so the NBA, to avoid the picking last thing, they didn't televise the draft, which was the most interesting part of that format for either of the other times. Like when the NHL did it the first time and Phil Kessel got the car at the end, that was fun and hilarious, and that was like entertaining. And that was the whole reason why it was kind of entertaining. And then once the game happened, it was still just kind of an all-star game. And the same thing happened here. Some people were trying to say, oh, this is so much more competitive and whatever. And from what I understand, it's still just kind of an NBA all-star game. There's a lot of points scored, and if it's close to the end of the game, then they get a little competitive. But
like, I saw some players saying like, "Oh, this felt like a real game." And like, wasn't the score 146 to 148?
Last year it was like 192 to 187. Last year.
Okay, I admit I don't watch a lot of NBA, but I'm pretty sure 148 to 146 isn't a common occurrence.
Yeah, no. 148 to 145.
What? Yeah, like
Team LeBron takes down Team Stephen Curry.
I'm sure that'll make up for the Cavs not winning the NBA title last year.
Yeah, it takes the sting right out of it. Let me tell you. I just think it's time to get rid of all-star games. They've just outlived their usefulness. We've been over it a million times, all the reasons why, because all the access we have now. Mm-hmm. There's no excitement in seeing these guys play. I mean, when they're coming up with these gimmicky things just to put teams together, it's time to just say maybe we move on to something else.
And with the NBA, too, it's not even that, like, you can see everybody now. Everybody plays with everybody now because there's all this player movement and super teams. And so it's not interesting because, oh, do you want to see KD play with Steph? Well, they already have. Oh, well, do you want to see Dwayne Wade play with LeBron James? Well, they already did. What about Kyrie with LeBron? Well, they did that last year. Like,
right.
You know.
Back in the 80s, it was cool because you would, like, say, Magic Johnson would be on the same team with, I'm trying to think of who, like, a big player from the West was back then. No, they were on separate conferences, but, you know, or like Bird would team up.
Chicago was in the East, weren't they?
No, Boston. He was with Boston, dude.
I know, but wasn't Chicago in the East?
I don't remember, but Magic played for the Lakers. You're thinking of Jordan.
Yeah.
No, I'm talking about Magic. I'm going back before that. But, like, Magic would play with guys from, like, the Spurs that were good. I'm trying to think of names. I can't come up with any, but – or you'd see Bird play with, like, Charles Barkley. You know, that was cool because you didn't see it, you know. But now – and there wasn't – you know, you had, like, maybe 1 or 2 games a week that were on TV, and that was it. But now it's just that they all need to go. Even the NBA and – baseball are the two that are closest we can get like almost an actual game, but no one gives a shit. It's just time for it to move along.
I mean, okay. Zach is right. He's 100% right that there is this narrative among online sports fans that the NBA can do no wrong at the moment. And one, it is nauseating just generally. And two, like, this isn't even that new an idea. This is a retread of ideas that other leagues have decided not to do. And, I mean, good on them, I guess, because, you know, whether or not this actually changed the NBA All-Star Game, I think it did not change the All-Star Game, but it created the impression that it did, and I guess that'll be good for a year or two just to bump interest before they quietly revert back to East and West.
Yeah. No, and really, I think the only way that you could really kind of jump this thing up a notch, and what I think the NHL could have done too, so instead of doing it with like a traditional draft, like 2 days before, what they need to do is because the reason that they try this is the same sort of stuff that you did on the schoolyard when you were playing these games, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what I think the NHL should have done, and what I think the NBA should do, don't do the draft like 2 days before. Do the draft like before the game starts. And what I mean by that is do it like you used to do on the playground. Line everybody up.
Yeah.
And say, you get first pick. I want him. Or if in the NHL, what I would have wanted them to do is when you do pickup hockey games, everybody throws their sticks in the middle.
Yeah.
And you just toss them side to side. Because then it's just kind of more
we
random.
We did that in baseball with our gloves. You threw them in a big pile, and they just
Sure.
And where your glove landed, that's who you played for.
Like, what the hell? Why not? Like,
That'd be more
if you really
interesting.
want to play up this thing, because then at least at the very least, I'm going to tune into the beginning of the game to see guys pick each other. And
you've eliminated the problem of the person being picked last because it's just a matter of your stick ended up last in the pile. It's not anything other than that. So you get rid of all that nonsense too. I'd be down with that. I think that'd be great.
Yeah, I mean, if the NBA is not going to televise this stuff, but I think the other problem is they want to be able to make the jerseys and sell the jerseys and that whole nut. But like with the NBA this year, they were promoting two different versions of the same jersey leading up to the game.
Yeah,
because they're just black and white, so it didn't really matter.
You do the same thing with doing it like stick style, like you were talking about. You can do the same thing. I'm trying to figure out what is making the NBA so quote unquote exciting this year. What's so great about it this year compared to other years? From an on-court standpoint, it's like, yes, we already talked about how like the Warriors are separated from everybody else, but there's the middle part of the NBA. Anybody can beat anybody, so it's exciting that you have these teams that can basically play with anybody. Well, that's like the AFC in the NFL. It's like watching the Titans play the Bengals. Yeah, either team can win, but doesn't mean it's good. Right. It's just two teams that are equally matched.
And then the other thing is the NBA is having this moment when it comes to off-court stuff. There's a lot of quote-unquote beef going on, whether it's on Twitter or on the court. Somebody's saying things about somebody else, and it's all this reality show aspect to it that people are just – they can't, for whatever reason, they can't get enough of it. They're just soaking it up. And it doesn't particularly appeal to me. Doesn't sound like it particularly appeals to either you guys either.
Really.
But it does appeal to a lot of people for whatever reason. It just seems like I don't care. Guys can hate each other, and that's great, and maybe it makes it a little bit more interesting. But I'm always about the on-court, on-ice, on-field product first and foremost. The other stuff might make it a little bit more juicy, but if I can't buy into the actual product you are selling me week to week, game to game, then what does it matter?
I don't care for this reality TV stuff. Give me my NHL with my bland, good old Canadian boys.
I don't know what you would get out of it.
Where nothing ever happens. Where nothing interesting ever happens, and everyone just plays a good, hard 60 minutes.
I mean,
I wish the NHL players were a little more interesting too. But I'll watch the NBA Finals because I know it's going to be great basketball. This is I don't know. To me, none of the other teams matter at this point. So everybody's fighting for position. Okay, fighting for what position? To be last on Turd Mountain? I don't understand what you're fighting for.
I'm going back to the reality show aspect of it. I don't understand what that kind of stuff makes the on-court product more appealing. I guess if they play against each other, okay, fine, but they're not going to break out into a fist fight or pull knives on each other or anything on the court because there would be fines and everything else. So it's just a lot of sound and fury signifying nothing, to borrow a phrase.
Yeah,
I just don't understand.
I don't really get it myself either. And what it's one of those things that just seems like it's hype. It's stuff people have talked themselves into, really.
Yeah.
And when it's if right now, if I try to have an argument with anybody about why the NHL would be, it's kind of a boring NHL season right now, to be perfectly honest. But when these conversations happen when it's NHL versus NBA right now, people are just like, oh, it's so interesting. And I'm like, is it though?
That's my thing. Is it really?
They keep telling them whenever I ask this question to people and they try to explain it, it seems like they're trying to convince themselves of it. No, it's interesting because of this stuff. Is it though? Yeah, no, it is. Okay. I don't know. It's not for me, not for us.
I'm going to take one for the team. I'm going to, between this week's show and next week's show, I'm going to try to watch 3 NBA games this week and just see if, A, I can get through it, and B, if maybe I'm being unfair to the sport. I'm not gonna do it as like some sort of joke or anything. I'm actually gonna sit down and try to watch a few games and see if it's just a matter of I've quit paying attention to the sports and now I think it's boring, or if it really is what I think it is, et cetera, et cetera. And I'll get back and report on it next week.
And I think you have to try and pay attention to like the pre and post game show stuff too.
Okay.
Because that's where they're going to talk about the rest of this stuff that supposedly interests people.
I was watching the other day. It wasn't a post game show, but it was one of those, like a talking head sports show that I hadn't watched one in such a long time. It was during Super Bowl week, I think, but it was well done, and I actually enjoyed it. And I thought, I never used to, or I used to watch this stuff all the time, and then I just stopped. I don't know if I just got lucky that day or what, but it was actually a day where I enjoyed a talking head studio show about a sport. I think it was the NFL.
Well, do you remember what show it was?
No. I want to say it was an NFL Network show, though.
Please tell me it was the Skip Bayless, Shannon Sharp show.
Oh, God, no. No, that's what I liked about it. It was actual real analysis, no hyped up nonsense, hot take nonsense. It was just a good analytical show about football, and it was really well done. And I thought, I really do enjoy these. But the problem is you can't find one anymore. Like, if you see one, it's almost by accident. Because I don't think anybody does that anymore, do they? Where it's not screaming and shouting, and I don't know. Might have been baseball. Yeah. It might have been that Brian Kenny on MLB Network. I don't remember, but I just remember thinking that I used to love watching those shows, and now I don't anymore.
When we're talking about this NBA stuff, what I mean by when we say it's them convincing themselves of it, it's not only them convincing themselves of it, that it's interesting. It's somebody said it, and now every single other person that I've heard talk about the NBA says it. Mm-hmm. Any podcast that I listen to that brings up the NBA is like, oh, it's so entertaining right now. It's the next thing. Oh, it's so entertaining night in, night out right now. So entertaining night in, night out right now. It's just like.
That's what I will find out.
It really just seems like people are trying to make themselves interested in it right now. Because
what else do you have?
I don't want to follow the NFL. I don't want to follow this. The NBA is going to be where it's at, and they're trying to make it the thing.
Well, even Bill Simmons, the last couple podcasts of his that I listened to for in Super Bowl week and going into all that, was talking about how the NBA has more, I don't know what the word is I'm looking for, but more cachet or whatever right now than the NFL does as far as off the field stuff, which maybe I'm just not reading the right websites or something, but I'm not seeing any of this. But I will sit down and I'll watch 2 or 3 games and see if it really is.
What these Americans are getting on about. All I know is that last night the Toronto Maple Leafs beat the Detroit Red Wings 3-2 in an entertaining, good game of hockey. And
you must have been thrilled to beat the hated Red Wings.
Oh, yeah. I was on cloud 9. By the way, next Monday we're going to have to postpone basically a sports show just later on in the week because the Leafs are coming to Tampa, and I'm not missing that.
Oh, well, hey, man. Absolutely. You can give us a full report. You were at the Devils Lightning game the other night and saw a couple of interesting sartorial choices.
Yes, I was at the Tampa Bay Lightning Arizona Devils, New Jersey Devils. New Jersey Devils game, and I saw a couple of things actually. I saw a Devils fan with their face done up like David Putty from Seinfeld.
No way!
Yeah,
wonderful.
That's too much.
I also saw someone wearing an NHL officials like a ref sweater. Like really? it had the armbands and the NHL badge. Like, it was like a legitimate referee sweater. Are you just here to root for the? I just want a good, clean, officiated game down the middle.
Look at that icing call. This guy does that better than anybody.
And then I saw someone wearing a Cayman Islands national team jersey.
That's nice. Cool. I like that. Yeah.
And first of all, the Cayman Islands isn't even a nation. So I didn't even know that they had a team. But
sure, why not?
The bigger question, the important question here, though, Mike, is did the jersey have a palm tree on it at any point?
It did, actually.
All right, that's all we need.
In fact, it had a subliminated palm tree behind the logo. There was also that guy who wasn't even wearing the right stuff. He was a guy wearing a Boston Red Sox hat and a Tom Brady jersey.
Oh, you don't do that. You never
at a hockey game between Tampa and New Jersey.
Okay, this is something that maybe it's the thing I do, but I never mix my sports like that. Like I won't wear a baseball sweatshirt and a football hat or whatever. Like if I'm wearing say, like I've got a New York Mets sweatshirt that I wear sometimes. Mm-hmm. If I wear a hat, it has to be like just a color that matches, but not from another team. Like I've got an Adidas hat that I wear with it, but I would never, ever wear. Well, there really isn't a team that matches that color scheme in the NFL. But I don't mix my sports. Can't do it. But that's just me. Do you guys mix your sports?
I will. The closest I'll get is sometimes I'll wear a Blue Jays cap with a Maple Leafs jersey.
Okay.
Mike, did the jersey look like that?
No, actually. It was, it almost looked like it was one from, like, the 90s. Like, it was like a 90s Cayman Island one. It was weird. I remember it had the island's, like, crest as the main logo.
Because I found the National Cayman Island ball hockey team.
Is that what these guys are?
Yeah, but I can't find an ice hockey.
I don't know. It could have been a ball hockey jersey for all I know. It was just a Cayman Islands hockey jersey.
I don't know. That's all I could find.
It's weird to see what some people will wear to a hockey game.
Are we talking the Solo movie?
Yes.
Yeah, because the trailers before Black Panther and stuff. So.
Oh, did you see Black Panther?
I did.
How is it?
It's good. It's very good. I'm not going to say that it's bad or anything. But I think the hype that surrounds this thing, where everyone's just like, "Oh, this is the greatest thing. It's the best reviewed movie of all." It's very good. It's just not, to me, it's not that hype level that people are putting out. It's an above average Marvel movie with probably some of the more interesting character beats that a Marvel movie's presented so far. Best Marvel villain, maybe. So far.
That's not a high bar load, to be perfectly fair.
Well, exactly. but like the
Mandarin could have been awesome, but I guess we're past the point where that could happen. Thank you.
The thing that makes him a great villain is that he's not just, why are you doing this? 'Cause I'm evil. Like that's not his thing. Like he has motivations that make complete sense, and you're like, okay, I see why you want to do this. Maybe it's the wrong way to go about it, but you have a reason, and I respect that.
I've heard a lot of good things about it.
Yeah, no, I would say it's definitely got its Marvel movie beats that it hits, especially towards the end of it. But it's good. It's very good.
Cool. Check it out.
I would, if you've seen all the other movies till now, like, I don't see why anyone would skip this one. But
there was one person, I think it was Astrobol on the CCSLC forums, who just asked, like, what Marvel movies should I? He's like, it was Brass, wasn't it? Oh, was it Was it Brass? I think
so.
Yeah, I think it was Brass. So yeah, it was Brass who was going like, I haven't watched any of the Marvel movies. I want to, like, see Avengers Infinity War. What should I watch to get caught up? And it's like 20 movies.
Yeah, probably all of them would be the best idea.
What have you seen? Like, where can we start you off? Like, I don't understand. It's like, I haven't seen any of the Star Wars. Where should I begin?
Which Star Wars movie is the best movie to start?
Yeah, probably want to watch all of them. When does Infinity War come out? This summer, right?
May.
May, yeah.
May 5th?
And that's the same month that Solo comes out, but apparently Disney's already written that one off.
Yeah.
I finally finished watching Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 the other night.
It drags, man.
It really does. I got to the draggy part, and it was tough to get through.
But Sylvester Stallone's in it, though. That's cool, right?
There was some cool stuff in it, no question, but I think I like the first one better.
Yeah, the first one's definitely an easier rewatch. It's fun.
but I dig it.
There are a lot of parts of 2 that I like, though.
Yeah, me too. I like it. I didn't think going into it, I thought, okay, you've got a talking raccoon and all this other bullshit. I'm thinking this is going to be terrible, but I really, really enjoyed the first one and the second one. Other than I thought we could have done with less of the Kurt Russell stuff in the second one. Kind of shorten that up a little bit. And
he's like the main villain.
I know, but tidy it up. I mean, it just took too long to get where it was going. Because couldn't you see it coming a mile away? What was going to happen there? I did anyway.
I mean, like as soon as he showed up and he was like just being generally awesome, it was like, oh well, he's gonna be evil.
Well, see, keep in mind too,
I was good with him, and then to a point where like at a certain point, it's like, we haven't been introduced to a big bad villain yet, have we? I guess that means somebody's gonna have to change, huh?
Yeah.
I don't know.
I liked it, though, but it did drag in the middle. And I'm not familiar with the series at all, Mike, so I don't know who's the biggest villain or whatever,
I'm the only time I ever read Guardians of the Galaxy was that brief period in the 90s where nobody was reading Guardians of the Galaxy, so they made Iron Man a member just to get people to read it.
Literally, and as from what I understand, the movies Guardians aren't all that like the cartoon or the comic book Guardians before them.
Like they're based off of like the thing about the Guardians of the Galaxy is that they've reinvented that team so many times that I think the movies are based off like the current comic book Guardians of the Galaxy, which have nothing to do with the original Guardians of the Galaxy.
Right. And so like when people are it was essentially a clean slate for them to do something with, and they can do whatever the hell they want with the movie versions because they have no bearing on they're not reliant on previous material necessarily.
Mm-hmm. So, well, speaking while we're talking movies really quick, so after seeing some of the stuff from Solo, are we more optimistic, less optimistic, or about the same?
Like I was telling Mike, every time I see it, it's got the look, it's got the feel of a Star Wars movie down. Like this is what this movie should look like. Even the Han Solo guy, he looks enough like Harrison Ford. He dresses like him. He's got the look of what a young Han Solo could be. But the instant he opens his mouth, it hits me that you're still not Harrison Ford.
Yeah.
You can walk the walk and do all that stuff and look and feel like the part, but so much about Han Solo is what Harrison Ford gives to him with his charisma, with his tone. Because like in Star Wars, yeah, he's the dashing rogue or whatever, but he's got this kind of detached nature from the rest of the film where just he kind of grumbles it off and this is all nonsense and this is stupid and I'm Han Solo.
A lot of it is Han Solo kind of just like eye rolling anytime something happens. Right. Or like a perfect example of how much Han Solo was that role. I mean, Harrison Ford was Han Solo is in Empire. That famous line where Leia goes, "I love you," and the script called for Han to reply, "I love you too," but Harrison Ford ad-libbed, "I know."
Yeah, and that was a great ad-lib because it turned into one of the most iconic lines of the whole franchise.
Yeah, it's just it's all there. I mean, I want Lando movie more than Han Solo movie at this point.
A Lando movie would be awesome with Glover.
He looks great. He looks great.
Just let him be the star of a Lando movie. The thing that makes me kind of promising, from what we see in the trailer, it looks like it's almost like the main thing might be like a train robbery sort of idea. Mm-hmm. And I'd be like, Rogue One was kind of this. But I'd be down for like an actual Star Wars heist movie where Han Solo is robbing a train and he smuggles his way out of it. Like that'd be a fun adventure that I'd like to go on with them. I'm optimistic that there doesn't seem to be any Boba Fett in everything I've seen.
There's no Boba Fett, but it does seem like it's got it's doing all the check marks and for a lot of things of. Oh, well, Han's going to meet the Millennium Falcon. He's going to meet Lando. He has Chewie. He's going to go on the Kessel Run. Like
the one thing I'm kind of cringed because I was thinking about this and I thought, oh my God, this line's actually going to be in the movie. And when I realized that this line was going to be in the movie, I cringed a bit, which is that you just know that when they first show the Millennium Falcon, everyone's going to like fawn over how awesome it is because, of course, the joke is that in like the current timeline, it's a piece of junk.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, this is a state-of-the-art ship.
Yeah.
Because it was a long time ago. Get it?
Yeah.
Get it, guys?
Because if you watch, it's all cleaned up. Like you go down the corridor and it's all perfect, white and pristine, and we know it doesn't really look like that today. So yeah, it's going to be one of those. Oh, this is the state-of-the-art, awesome, blah blah blah. And I don't know. We'll see. I think that it had a pretty. I thought Rogue One was really well done. So for the first separate quote unquote Star Wars story, I think it's got a pretty high bar set for us. So I'm hoping it's good.
Like the whole thing about like they showed that clip of the corridor in the trailer where it's like perfect and white. It's how much of a slob is Han? Because like, okay, I get it, shit gets old, but like,
yeah.
It did just get a bit dingy. Like it went to shit.
That's a question that I have because like the Millennium Falcon that they're showing in the trailers, like there's certain stuff that is like fundamentally different about it than the one Han has. How like this movie takes place when exactly? Like how old is Han supposed to be in this movie versus how old is he in episode 4?
See the way that I've been I haven't done the math on it, but I've thought about it a bit. If and this is all contingent on this recollection being correct, which I concede it might not be, but I have always but A New Hope takes place 19 years after Revenge of the Sith.
Right.
And so Luke is 19. Luke and Leia are 19 in A New Hope. And the way that I thought, and I seem to remember hearing or reading this, but like Han was 25.
Right.
And so
this movie's like 5, 6, 7 years before?
6 years, about 6 years prior to New Hope, basically?
Well, because he had to have, because they show him in old canon before the story was made into not canon and a legend in one of the old Han Solo books. His backstory was that he joined the Imperial Academy to become a pilot. Mm-hmm. And you get a little bit of that in one of the trailers. So we have to assume that that's being brought in as part of his lineage. How old do you have to be to join the academy? At least 18, I would assume.
You would have to be 18, and of course, there's like it's this weird situation because let's see, God damn it,
but anyway, eventually, like
he was 6 years old. So Han Solo was 6 at Revenge of the Sith.
Right.
He was 6. All right. So then you can kind of work.
Well, here's the other thing. He's 6, but in Attack of the Clones, the Millennium Falcon is in the background.
It is, and it looks exactly like it does in A New Hope.
It looks exactly like it does in A New Hope, but the one that we see in the Solo trailer has something different about it. I guess they're going to say, well, those were 2 different ships of the same model, sort of idea. I don't know. Basically, the idea is that if this movie is only like 6 years before A New Hope, at best, how the hell does the ship go through that much hell to end up looking like it does at that point?
And again, like the corridors of the Millennium Falcon look dingy as hell, and they're pristine white in this trailer. I understand. Like, that thing's going to look – the new car smell is going to go away eventually, but Han has got to be the most negligent slob if that's what happens in, 6 years.
And the other thing, too, is, like, people always say, oh, it's such a hunk of junk. But for the most part, from what we can tell, technology kind of stagnates during this whole portion, because technology from episode 1 really through episode 8 is not all that different seemingly over what would that be, like a 50-year span, 60-year span?
Yeah.
But so this thing that was brand new all of a sudden is a hunk of junk in 6 years' time. I don't know. Those are a little nitpicky things.
Well, are we absolutely certain of Han's age at say in A New Hope? I mean, are we positive he's say 25?
I've heard that he was supposed to be 25, but
I'm sure they'll explain it.
I think you're going to get a little get a little liberal with the timeline here because backing up 6 years, I just can't see. Yeah, that's a lot of territory to cover in a short time.
But beyond all this minuscule stuff, the key to the movie, start to finish, is going to be this guy's.
He was 29 in A New Hope.
Okay,
I just looked it up.
You back it up, so you can go back like 10, even 15 years, or maybe like 14 years. Yeah, you could go back a ways.
But the key to this movie, start to finish, no matter like we said, no matter what it looks like, no matter how they get everything down, it's going to hinge on this guy's performance.
Yeah.
Like, can he convince you over the hour and a half plus of this movie that he is Han Solo?
And that's where
I don't know.
That's where I'm very pessimistic because, like I was telling Zach during the break, I've watched this trailer at least like twice, almost every day, and it's sort of reached this point where I'm kind of just doing it out of scientific curiosity. Like, will this be the time where I watch this and buy that he's like Harrison Ford? And it hasn't happened yet.
Yeah.
Right.
The first trailer,
I've done the same thing.
The first trailer that they put out during the Super Bowl, when he's talking but you don't see him talking, it's like, okay, sure, I'm on board with this. But then the one they showed the next day where he like actually says lines, specifically the one at the end where it's kind of a wink to the audience, where it's like, oh, see, everything's fine. We're all good. We're fine. And it's like, is it? Is it fine?
To be fair, we can't really expect him to. I think for us to enjoy the movie, we're going to have to kind of lower our expectations of his performance. Like, maybe can he just pull the job off? Ideally, yes, you want him to sound like Harrison Ford and do the whole bit, but I don't think he's going to be able to pull that off. We've already seen that he can't pull that off.
And as I was saying earlier, like, if you're casting for a young Han Solo movie, a Han Solo prequel movie, isn't being able to pull off a decent Harrison Ford impression like point one when choosing your lead actor? You would have thought this problem would have been sussed out like day one of production when they started casting people.
No. I think, but this is also the problem that they have when they're trying to do any of these movies. Like, I think going forward, the only Star Wars story movie that they can do with a previous character as its main central component has to be a Obi-Wan Kenobi movie because Ewan McGregor can still do it. But you're going to have this problem. Like, if you want to do a young Princess Leia movie for whatever reason, you couldn't do it.
Well, no, you'd have to go back to when she's like 10 or something because you've got Carrie Fisher. I guess we would say, well, she's 19 in New Hope, right?
Yeah, she's not. Yeah. Yep.
So how far back can you go? You really can't.
Really can't.
Yeah.
But when it comes to anybody else, like,
I want to see. You know what?
Obi-Wan's the only one you could do it.
Yeah.
I want to see a standalone Star Wars movie.
Chewie.
I want to see a standalone Star Wars movie about Luke's friends who are going to meet him at Tosche Station to get the power converters. What did they go on to do when Luke didn't show up?
Where's Luke?
They're probably all sitting around going like, man, we're glad that whiny little bitch didn't show up. God.
Well, the Star Wars minute joke my favorite Star Wars minute joke, though, actually has to be like, apparently, and I don't know if this is still canon or not, but Luke's like nickname back on Tatooine was Wormy.
Yeah.
Wormy means big.
In a deleted scene, originally, in the middle of the battle, it's not even a battle, but when the Star Destroyer captures the Rebel cruiser at the beginning of the first movie, it's supposed to cut down to Tatooine with Luke looking up in these binoculars like, oh, look, a space battle.
Yeah.
And then his friends, including Biggs, who we meet later in the movie, of course, with the mustache, they're like, oh, Luke, what are you doing? He's like, oh, it's a space battle. And then it had already ended because they'd captured the ship. And like, you don't know what you're talking about. Oh, it's nothing. Come on, let's go to our local watering hole. And they're all hanging out, and they call him Wormy. Like, what are you talking about, Wormy?
So the joke that I loved was that, like, after Luke destroys the Death Star, like, the front page paper using Luke's awkward high school photo is like, Wormy wins big.
You know, though, if you watch those deleted scenes from that movie, they saved that thing in the edit, man. Because that movie could have been a disaster.
The funniest story about the original Star Wars is Steven Spielberg and Brian De Palma were both friends of Lucas's from film school. And when Lucas put together his edited version of like a rough draft of Star Wars, he showed Spielberg and De Palma like a private screening of it. And Spielberg was telling the story later on. He goes, Brian was absolutely furious, yelling, "It doesn't make any fucking sense!"
Well, and you know what? It's just so funny because, nobody knows about these stories at the time, but we hear about them all after the fact. And you look at the production for all these movies. Mm-hmm. In the original trilogy, other people have their hands all over these movies. They're George's ideas, but other people fine-tune them to be the masterpieces that they are.
Yep.
Then you have the prequels where it's all George all the time, and what do you know? We have a little bit of trouble. So maybe he could have learned from the first 3 movies that made him all of his money, taught him that it's not a bad thing to have other people help.
Yeah.
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 There are a lot of great videos that go over how the original Star Wars was saved in editing, and and they're honestly really good, just interesting and
fascinating.
Like, this is a great way to learn about like story structure and how things flow and like so. Yeah, I mean, George.
Yeah,
Lucas,
things were in different orders. And things make much more sense when you kind of flip-flop the order that they appear in.
Like in Lucas's original cut, the scene where Vader chokes Maudie and about like it's like for not being a believer in the Force happened before Obi-Wan explains the Force. And it's like, no, you actually have to establish what the Force is before Vader starts choking people with it.
Oh my!
So you know what the fuck's happening.
Yeah. Anyway, well, this is all fun, but we're delaying talking about our top story of the day.
Yeah, well, I think it's because it's so heartbreaking that we're trying to not get into it because
the story that shook the sporting world.
Yeah, because it's tough for us, being the fans of the sport that we are, to see something like this take place. So I think that it's been a bit of a defense mechanism on our part to stay away from it, but I guess we have to address it. So, Mike, you were the one that clued us into it. Take it away.
So, the Russian, I believe it was the mixed team that won gold in curling.
Bronze. They won bronze.
Oh, bronze. Sorry, yeah, they won bronze in curling.
The mixed doubles curling.
Mixed doubles curling. The Russian team has been who of course wasn't officially the Russian team.
The Olympic athletes from Russia.
The Olympic curlers from Russia.
Or
the Russian-related curling team.
Russia adjacent.
They have been busted in a doping scandal. They were caught doping.
Well, they're under investigation. They have not been officially stripped of their medal or anything like that. They're currently under investigation. But
Alexander Krasnolitsky, he has a very long Russian name where consonants are just stringed together.
Here's my discussion. Like, look, yes, curling takes some stamina, and you have to have the right musculature and muscle control to slide out there and throw the stone with the right weight and the right curl and the spin and all that sort of stuff and the sweep. You have to have there is athleticness to curling, a certain level of it. But why do you need to dope in curling?
That is my question exactly.
That is exactly what I said. Like my dad texted me to clue me into this, and he just said Russians were caught doping curling, and I just replied, "Why?"
Yeah, what do you gain? Seriously, what do you gain from it?
I get it if you're a sprinter or even a cross country skier or something like that to get more oxygen in your blood, but you're standing around for 85% of the match.
What do you gain?
That's the Routers story, by the way, that I'm reading right now, actually takes time to mention it is one of the game's least physically taxing sports. So
that's my point. What do you gain from it? Because you can't. The only thing I could think of is you would get strength. Okay, so that makes you able to throw the stone harder, but you don't want to do that. It's a finesse game, curling. It's not a power game.
It's not even necessarily strength. Sometimes doping in a lot of these cases is when they do blood doping, it's infusing the blood with more oxygen.
Okay.
To give more stamina and stuff like that.
You really don't need endurance for curling.
Right. None of these things apply to our sport. That's my point.
Look, my grandfather curled as a hobby. And if you met him, he was not an athlete.
Yeah. Look, at Olympic sport high school, curling was voted least athletic.
like at Olympic athlete high school, curling
least
is
likely to dope.
Curling is essentially the chess club of Olympic sport high school.
Here's my question.
Least likely to be caught doping, curling.
If they're doping in curling, is anything sacred anymore?
Well, but the other part of this too is that we mentioned that they're Russia adjacent athletes, athletes that smell Russian, whatever you want to call them. The vodka drinking athletes of
Eastern Europe,
Pyeongchang.
Like, you were already on probation for doping.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what are you doing? And again, and we can't hammer this point enough. One, why are you doping? Two, of all sports to do the doping in, curling?
Right.
And not even like real curling, like the new mixed doubles curling where it's two people, a man and a woman curling together, peace and harmony. And why?
It makes
why do you do this?
It makes zero sense. I just don't see what possible benefit you could gain from doping in curling. Because you throw the stone and then you stand back and you drink a beer and smoke a cigarette until your next turn.
In fact, it probably helps to be a bit drunk.
Right. That's what I'm saying.
Maybe it's like
this is bowling except better. That's it.
Well, okay, I'm trying to think of it. So in bowling, I know that like I tend to, if you're bowling for a couple hours, you're better at the beginning because you haven't thrown as many balls down the lane and maybe your arm gets a little tired. So maybe this is to eliminate that little bit of tired that you would have. But I think if you're a professional, but I'm also not a professional bowler. I'm not like working my arm and getting my arm strength up to be a bowler on a daily basis. If you're a professional Olympic level curler,
you shouldn't. A curling match take. Let's say start to finish, time wise. What are we looking at?
An hour and a half.
An hour and a half. Okay. And in bowling, I'm assuming when you go bowling, I'm assuming you're just out there. You guys are just like constantly going, right? Like game after game after game, or
yeah. I mean, in an hour you'll play like 2.5 games.
Yeah. Well, see, in competition bowling, which just sounds as stupid as it probably really is, you're in between. You're like you bowl, and then like 3 other people do, and then you again. You never get to a point where there's a lot of repetitive stress on your throwing arm or whatever your bowling arm. And I would think the same thing in curling. It's not. I just don't see it. It's just really making it's hard for me to grasp why they would do this because I don't see any benefit anywhere. You're never so geeked up to a point that you've got to worry about running out of stamina or running out of gas. You throw the stone. I guess the sweepers maybe that might help. Maybe they sweep.
Except
fast.
Even Len though. Come on,
it's not one person dedicated though. Like you rotate through.
That's what I'm saying. Maybe it helps with sweeping, but how much can it possibly help? So you sweep a little bit faster, whatever. It's just the dumbest thing I've ever heard. Like, when it comes to doping, this is it. This is the bottom of the barrel, right?
Have you seen some of the American curlers?
Yes.
Like
my point exactly. What are they going to benefit?
Like you don't have to be hell. I think we would all argue, and probably successfully, that baseball might be a more athletic sport than curling.
Oh my! By a long shot. I'll be the first to admit that baseball is not physically
David
taxing.
Wells, come on.
Right.
Here's my examples. Some of the fat guys in baseball are pitchers, where all they do is throw the ball over and over and over again. Or even catchers where they're sitting behind the plate.
There's a reason.
You have to get up and down. But they're big dudes. They're they're not necessarily the most in shape. Hell, you can even be a third baseman like Pablo Sandoval and still be, okay. Prince Fielder when he was a first baseman.
One of my favorite animated GIFs is it's Sandoval rounding second base, and it looks like the shortstop holds up a piece of cake, and he trips and falls down trying to get back to it. I forgot.
This one's great. Just a Sports Illustrated of the David Wells diet.
I forgot. There was a point I wanted to make about baseball. Now I can't remember what it is.
But, these guys can throw a baseball 100 miles an hour.
Oh.
With control, with accuracy, with spin on the ball. All of these things that apply to curling in some shape or form. I'm sure if David Wells or Bartolo Colon wanted to become world-class curlers, they could probably do it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And not have to dope.
I was going back to your point about baseball not being terribly physically taxing. There's a reason of the 4 major sports, it's the only one that will play 2 games in the same day. There's a reason for that. Because you can do it. It's not hard. I've played in a bunch of doubleheaders over my life, and it's just not difficult.
Sure.
But in baseball, at least doping makes sense. You can hit the ball further. You can throw it faster. Those are 2 things you don't really need to do in curling at all.
No.
Right?
No, because you don't even want to throw the stone that hard in the first place sometimes.
No, that's what I mean. It's a finesse game, basically.
Yeah, I mean, yes, there are sometimes when you want to knock the other ones out of the way, but...
Yeah, but do you really need that extra 10% that doping's going to give you to blast it out of there?
Of course.
I got to say that I'm deeply hurt by curling, my second favorite sport, going to the doping route.
I mean, like you said, Greg, is nothing sacred at this point. The Russians had been hoping, this is from the Router story, the Russians had been hoping for a clean record at Pyeongchang would persuade the IOC to allow them to march at the closing ceremony with the Russian flag.
Well, guess what?
And again, what Zach said, it's like you were on probation, you had to get through this game without incident, and you blew it on curling.
You didn't get a speed skating medal or something.
Yeah.
Nope. Curling. I would like to research this, though. I'd like to find out. Maybe there is a benefit that we're not thinking of, because none of us curl, and we certainly don't do it professionally or at the elite level.
Well, not yet.
Not yet.
I mean, to be fair, it does seem like
some of the things I hear coming out of my mouth, I just think, boy, this is just really sounds stupid, like the elite level of curling.
Fair, curling seems like something that you could probably enter relatively late in life.
Yeah.
And get good at it.
Yeah, I mean, at my age, I look at it and I go, I can't play baseball anymore. Can't play hockey. Can't really play basketball. I can still be a curler. I can bowl and I can curl. I can still do that.
If there was a curling club that was more accessible to me, I probably would have seriously tried out for these Olympic Games over the last 4 years. I'm not kidding.
It's like, what's the worst thing that could happen, right? I mean, just like, hey, guys.
Well, you get to curl a bunch, if nothing else, right?
I want to try out for the Team USA curling team, and they just look at you and like, all right, you got to bring your own beer for the first practice, and then after that we rotate.
I don't know. I don't know what the world's coming to when you've got doping and curling.
I mean, I can only hope that Norway saves us, because they are the bastion of curling purity, and I just like, is there nothing you won't ruin, Russia? Like, Jesus Christ, curling.
Is there nothing sacred?
Exactly.
That's what I'm saying, man. And it had to be Russia, of course, because it's always Russia. And you know why? Because East Germany no longer exists. That's the only thing. Because if East Germany was still around, it would have been them first. We all know it.
Oh, yeah. Well, of course.
Yeah, you guys weren't around for the grand old days of East and West Germany and all that crazy shit.
I remember seeing pictures of, like, East German power lifters.
The ones where you couldn't tell if they were women or men?
Yeah.
I'm not kidding you guys. East Germany had some female athletes that I don't know that I would have bet on them being a woman. I wouldn't have put money on it. These were some chicks that just were like, whoa, that is one ugly dude. Sorry. But it was amazing. And that was, doping was clearly running rampant in the sports, in the Olympic sports back then. But curling,
the communist bloc? No.
Yeah. Yeah. Curling. Just, I don't know what to say. But well, speaking of,
and you did it for a bronze medal too.
Yeah, no kidding. Did you guys know they get paid if you win a medal, you get money?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. It's not all for pride of country.
Well, of course not. But I thought it was all for endorsements and stuff. I thought that you did the free bit so that you could get Wheaties money after the thing was over. I didn't realize that you actually got money for a medal.
No, yeah, they.
Has it always been that way? Like, say, did the 80 Olympic hockey team get money for the medal they won?
You get some. I don't know when they would have started doing that, but it's been a while. But it's really not. It's ultimately not that much.
No, I know it's not a fortune.
And it depends. It depends on the federation. Like, I don't know if the Olympics gives you money directly. I think it's from like your respective national committees.
Oh, okay. Speaking of the hockey, have you guys watched any of it?
Yeah.
I was watching Canada go down, and then I realized how stupid this was when Canada lost, and I felt nothing.
Right, we were watching the shootout.
Yeah.
Who do they lose to, Mike? I know you texted us.
To the Czechs.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
And it's one of those things where it's like, I felt nothing. It's like, oh well.
I tried watching some of it, but
Team USA went down to mighty Slovenia.
Yeah, that was what you texted me about, right?
I can't watch the men's games.
No,
I just I watched the Canada-Czech one because it was on. It was late in the game and it was tight. And then they went into the overtime. I was like, oh, okay, I'll sit here and watch it.
And as you said, Zach, the alchemy was flowing through those jerseys.
The alchemy, that's part of the reason I can't watch it. Is just there's so much alchemy going on that my eyes can't handle it. No, it's just I'm watching these guys and it's like they're not connecting, especially the Americans, where it's just so clear that this was just a group of guys they could throw together to make an Olympic team, and they have no chemistry.
But Ryan Giunta, come on.
Ryan Giunta and James Wisniewski. Yes, I know. The Canada one was hilarious because it's like, oh, they're relying on the offensive production of Rene Bourque, and I was like,
really?
Rene Bourque, the guy that couldn't crack the Ducks' fourth line a year ago, is now the savior of Canadian Olympic hockey.
God bless all of them for being good enough to play hockey at a level that got them invited to the Olympics.
Well, and this is why,
they're in the middle here. They are not amateur enough to get behind the underdog, oh, this will be fun if they win story, and they're not professional enough to get my interest as a hockey fan. They're just minor league guys playing puck. I don't care. Sorry. Now, if you wanted to take me to one of their games and you get the mascot doing crazy shit and T-shirts getting shot into the crowd, okay, I might be interested in that.
I don't think the Olympics does the T-shirt canon.
Well, they keep doing hockey this way. They may have to start. I'm just saying.
And as much as you want them to go down, I was surprised as hell when that Russia even lost the game in the group stage, because they simply have more talent than everybody else there.
See, okay, if Russia losing is the only thing that can disappoint me, because
they lost to Slovakia, I think.
Hey, the United States lost to Slovenia there, so don't get high.
I know. But that's the other thing is sitting there watching this, and there's been a lot of articles about this. I think of the American team we could have sent over for these Olympics. Austin Matthews, Jack Eichel, Patrick Kane, Seth Jones, Phil Kessel, John Gibson, John Quick, Connor Hellebuck. This might have been the greatest American Olympic ice hockey team of all time, talent-wise. And for once in our lifetime, I think we could have legitimately expected them to compete with the Canadians to actually win. And not do how they had to do every other time, where it's, play scrappy and block all the shots and, trying to drag ourselves through this thing.
I think they had to work out for you guys in the last couple.
I think you're right, Zach. I think they had the talent.
Canada, we won the last time this mattered.
They had the talent to go toe-to-toe with these teams. I think you're right. I agree with that.
And I think it's been talked about a lot, but I think – to an extent, 1980 has kind of hampered American Olympic teams since, because since then they've all tried to play like that. when they don't necessarily have to. And I think that this didn't.
That was a result of like, oh shit, we can't send pros. We've got to send amateurs who have to beat teams that are essentially pro teams. And how can they do that? Yeah. Whereas now it's like you can field an American team against a Canadian team, and if both teams are sending their absolute best, pro or not, then you don't have to play scrappy underdog hockey.
Well, I thought the U.S. kind of did a hybrid version of the Russian game, and that was what kept them in it in the first place. They weren't like dump and dig hockey, that team.
No, but they were playing team hockey where like they had to play together as a unit.
Right.
And so they've basically, instead of allowing their talent to shine through sometimes, they've said, no, you play in the style
system.
Or we won't live.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, they had to play a certain system. Right.
And we all saw what happened in the World Cup of Hockey where scrub Europe beat them 5-0. So...
But so now we have this thing where
didn't we beat you guys in '96? I think I remember Mike Richter.
Yeah, you did.
Okay,
you did.
So all right, enough
was
of you
96.
already with the Canada shit.
That was '96. Okay, Guess what's happened since then?
Doesn't matter.
That's right.
Doesn't matter. We beat your ass in hockey in '96.
Even
Greg,
okay,
Greg,
yeah.
We've lost them in 2 gold medal matches. Greg, just back.
I'm just saying. But it's not all gloom and doom for us. We have had our moments.
I want to be there with you, but we don't have a leg to stand on. Just
all right. I tried.
Let him have it.
I tried.
Sidney Crosby is God.
We'll get him in the next World Cup.
I tried.
It's fine.
We'll get them in the next World Cup, which might not happen if there's a lockout.
It's going to happen. By Austin Matthews' hand, this will happen.
I tried, America.
But the best part is Russia's going to end up winning this stupid thing, and it's not even going to be Russia. And they're going to be beating nobody. We're going to be like, this is what I wanted. This is why this popped in my head. Okay, so Russia destroyed the United States, the OAR destroyed the United States in their group game 4-5-0, something like that. Mm-hmm. And after the game, somebody interviews Ilya Kovalchuk, and he's like, "You guys have been showing those Oshie shootouts on replays for the last 4 years, right? Hopefully this changes that." And I was like, oh, Ilya, it's so cute that you think that. Do you remember who you were playing today? Did you see the guys you were going up against?
You're not playing against TJ Oshie.
Did you see TJ Oshie? Did you see Patrick Kane? Did you see?
Well, not only that, but we'll break out the 1980 videotape too. So fuck him.
Right. No, and he's just like, you've been showing those highlights for 4 years, right? And it just didn't. The Russians don't think this way. They think we're the best and we're going to win an Olympic gold medal now, and they're going to like celebrate over this like they just won World War III.
It's like, guys, if you win this, you
realize it doesn't count, right?
And even if you do win, when you beat no one, it won't even be registered as a Russian gold medal.
I get the Olympic national anthem or the Olympic anthem played at your gold medal ceremony with the Olympic rings hanging over it all, and
with
you won't even
let's say Olympic athlete from Russia on them.
It's funny when I've watched them play, because of those jerseys, they look more like the Soviet Union than they have since the breakup of the Soviet Union. They're all red with plain letters on them. I'm like, if that doesn't say communist Russia, like those jerseys look like Soviet era jerseys.
And again, trying to foster the big rivalry with Team USA doesn't work when TJ Oshie isn't even there because they won't let him go.
Yeah. Congratulations on blowing a one-timer past Ryan Zapolsky.
Yeah. You want to
way to beat James.
You want to keep that puck. You want to keep that puck because it doesn't happen very often.
You know what? Screw it. I'm pulling for Slovenia. Go all the way, Slovenia. I like to think in the game where they beat the United States, they had the Force Ghost of Andrei Kopitar on the bench.
You know what? Based on the little bit I've seen, I wouldn't be surprised if one of the halves of the former Czechoslovakia wins this whole thing, just because the Czechs look pretty good, Slovakia look pretty good.
Wouldn't it be hilarious if Russia even now can't manage to win it? Like they go down to like Slovakia or something.
Yeah.
Oh boy,
that'd be fun.
But yeah, nice job NHL. Way to think this one through.
Yeah. And, the NHL still goes on back home.
Yeah, but and we talked about it back when they made the decision, but they could be on the world stage right now. The best players in your league on the world stage. Well, I don't know how that's bad for the sport. I just don't see how that's bad for the sport in any way, shape, or form.
The thing, too, is that all of NBC's broadcast talent is in South Korea.
Yeah. So you're getting like the fourth stringers for the games here now. Doc
Emmerich didn't go, so I think he's still doing the Sunday afternoon game that they play, because they did Rangers Flyers last Sunday. Okay. But everybody else is over there. All the studio people, even Jeremy Roenick, Mike Milbury, Keith Jones, they're all over in South Korea.
Oh, and they're thrilled talking about a bunch of minor leaguers.
Oh yeah. Well, you can tell that when they talk about the U.S. or Canadian women's teams, that they get a little bit more, energetic.
By the way, how'd that one go, guys?
Hey, just the group stage, man.
Okay.
No, Mike, this is all part of our plan. Don't you see? In every single time that Canada's beat us for the gold medal, we've beat them in the group stage. So we're just flipping it around. You can win the group stage. That's cute. Very fun. Great game. We outshot you. We should have put in 3 goals in the final 2 minutes. It's fine. We'll beat you on Wednesday night.
Okay.
Yes. What Zach said.
USA all the way.
That's right. What Zach said.
Although I do enjoy the fact that Phil Kessel's sister Amanda Kessel has more Olympic glory than Phil does.
Did you see Phil Kessel's quote the other day?
No, I didn't.
Oh my God! So somebody asked him about he's high up in the points race right now. So someone said, "Hey Phil, what would you think about winning an Art Ross Trophy this season, huh?" And he's like, "I have 2 cups. I don't care."
Good for you, Phil.
It's
why are you asking me that?
Phil.
Why are you asking me that, guy?
Legend.
Come on. Leave me alone.
Phil, yeah.
Hey, why? Hey, leave Dion alone, all right? He's in L.A. now. It's not my problem.
Where's Tyler?
No, you're in Pittsburgh now, Phil. It's Sid.
I like to think he keeps just calling Malkin Tyler.
Hey, Ty. Evgeny's like, what? Not my name.
Good talk, Ty. Then he just walks away.
You're funny, Tyler. Good joke. My name is Evgeny. Okay.
Yeah, no, Phil Kessel's the best. I've fully obviously I liked him when he played for Toronto, but I've fully embraced Phil Kessel. He's amazing.
American hero.
Trade to Pittsburgh seems to work out pretty well for him too.
Well, it's exactly what we said would happen. Now that he doesn't have the pressure of having to be the guy, he's actually doing very well for himself.
Yeah, he's like the third guy.
Yeah,
that's even more perfect for him, and he's thriving. He's
maybe that's there are a lot of guys that's what they need to be, and good for him.
Yeah,
but I mean, just we can never, ever, ever forget that.
Oh, is this
his Team USA publicity shot.
I'm happy to be part of Team USA.
Oh man, I would not want him anywhere near my sister. Looking like that, I should say.
That looks like the face he would make if you were with his sister and he was peeping through the window. Just let that haunt your nightmares.
Before we wrap all of our stuff up here,
okay.
Logo news and notes to go through?
I heard Miami is doing some tweaks, nothing major, but they are going to – I don't understand for the life of me. People love those throwbacks as much as they do. Every time they wear them, everybody's like, you got to go back to these full-time. Why are they not going back to them full-time?
You know what they're going to do? They're just going to put a helmet on the cruise ship logo and call it a day.
I think what we're going to get, honestly, is you're going to get the aqua face mask instead of the white. You're going to get more orange and basically the same uniform. I think that there might be a minor improvement, but it can only go up. But yeah, I don't know why they don't go back to the throwbacks. But
they say it'll be an evolution rather than an evolution rather than a revolution. They will not be going back to the throwbacks full time. All reports suggest that the uniform change will be a minor tweak, with small changes coming to each piece. The jersey, helmet, pants, and logo.
Well, I think they've got something to work with there that could look pretty good if they spice it up a little bit, but it's just so bland and generic right now that it's not good.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know. I'm excited to see what they could possibly do, but if it's going to be minor, I don't know.
Yeah.
What that equates to.
Whatever it is, it has to include more orange. That's a definite. It has to. You got to do that because it's just too bland with just the aqua and the white right now.
They just have a very, very, very uninspired, generic look to them.
Right.
And I just don't see how anything that is related to the current look, like nothing can salvage it. At best you can like try to polish the turd.
Mm-hmm.
But other than that, it's just not working.
Yeah, I think what they're going to try to do is they're going to take a bland uniform and try to de-bland it a little bit, if that's a word. And all you're going to get is more orange. It's going to be that uniform with more orange, basically.
The only way that anything short of just going with the throwbacks full time is a half measure.
I wonder why they won't do the throwbacks. Is it because
there is a reason? There is a reason.
Okay, what is it?
It's been explained on the boards by members of the community who work for the Dolphins.
Oh, this ought to be good. So, why even bother? You know we're not going to understand it because we're too fucking stupid.
It was explained. It was explained to the community, to the CCSLC, that basically the Dolphins need to evolve into a brand beyond just football. And the current logo and the current look allows them to be a luxury brand that the throwbacks just can't let them be.
Okay.
Sure.
It's the explanation that was provided.
I think it worked.
I think nostalgia is in right now, so why couldn't that be?
There's that. Forget all that. It's just that the throwback uniform just looks better. But I'm going to agree with this point. They have evolved their brand past just being a football team. Now you think of a cruise line, toothpaste. Retirement home, an amusement park. Yeah, so maybe, okay, I can see it.
And I mean, but again, the reason why I don't find that convincing is like, do the Pittsburgh Steelers go around like, we need to evolve our brand beyond a football team? No, they're the Pittsburgh Steelers. They're a football team. The Miami Dolphins have arguably like the greatest football team of all time in their history. Like, just be the Miami Dolphins NFL football team.
That's a bunch of bullshit that I don't know why he would even try to go that. I mean, come on, they're a football team. Improve your brand as a football team. Look like a real football team again. And I don't understand. You've got your fans dying for it. Everybody says it looks better. We all know it looks better. Rare is the case where you can say definitively that something is better than another when it comes to uniforms, but they are. I don't know. Anyway.
The Steelers will have a new throwback next year. They officially retired the Bumblebee uniforms before last season.
Oh, thank God.
So they will have a new throwback. I'm going through their throwback options, and there's really not a whole lot. I mean, you could go to just the block numbers, but that'd be kind of useless.
What about the old late 60s where they had the yellow, whatever you call it, on the top?
They're referred to as the Batman uniforms, and those are in the Mothership article here.
Well, I just sent a great Phil Kessel picture from
the Hamburglar
from when he was in Toronto.
Wonderful.
I can see these happening, Zach.
There's those. I'm going through Gridiron.
Well, there's the one set where they did.
And then there's the one with the yellow numbers.
Well, they had a set. They had a set where they had like yellow diamonds on the sleeves, like. It was like the ones before the Batman look.
They had that jersey. I think they wore it with the yellow helmets a couple times. What was the jersey with the yellow numbers and like the Northwestern stripes on the sleeves?
The reason that this Batman, the one with the yellow triangles on the shoulders, was offered up is because it's really the only throwback option that they would have that doesn't include the yellow helmet. Because obviously we can't change the jerseys anymore.
Right.
Helmets anymore. So the rest are all yellow helmets. If they want to ignore that, then there's other options for them to go back to.
I wouldn't mind seeing a modern version of these. They might look kind of cool.
Yeah.
What else was there? There's a bit more uniform news, isn't there?
Well, the Sharks are going to be possibly bringing back the shoulder fin on an alternate next season. So that'll be.
And they're going to be using more of their stupid new logos that they introduced.
Right, which they're straddling the fence with trying to pick a logo, which is kind of dumb.
And we've got Jacksonville and Tennessee and the NFL are going to be debuting new uniforms in April sometime. And
the Phillies to baseball because spring training opened up this week, right? The players have reported. The Phillies are going to bring back the powder blues in 2018, so that's fun.
I don't know why people like those, but they do.
Yeah, they're just different.
Yeah, they are different. That's true.
And then really the bigger news is we talked about the Florida teams having their anniversary logos.
Right.
Well, one of the other 90s expansion teams has their 20th anniversary this season. The Diamondbacks have a logo, and they announced they're going to wear 6 different throwback jerseys this season.
Oh, do they have? Oh, Jesus.
That's what I was saying. I'm like, the Diamondbacks have 6 options?
Well, let's see. You've got the sleeveless and the sleeved versions of the originals, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so there's 2. And if you want to count the road versions, you can count 4. All right.
Yeah, there you go. You've got the diamond, where it says Diamondbacks with the pinstripes, the purple Arizona jersey, the sleeveless one, the pinstriped version with the A on the front. But then the one that strikes me is that, especially the way that they label these as the 2007 and 2011 alternate jerseys, those are just their jerseys from 2 friggin' years ago.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right?
Right.
It's like, we're going to do a throwback night. Remember how our jerseys now completely suck? Well, we're going to wear the jerseys that we wore before we changed to the crappy jerseys.
What they should do, because they've got enough jerseys to do it, they don't have to wear their regular uniforms at all this season. They can wear this shit all year. I'd be fine with it.
Also, I hate the anniversary logo because you don't need to have 20 twice.
Oh yeah, huh?
No, not really.
Yeah. No, and the other thing that I don't like about it, and I understand it's just because of what they're trying to do. The purple looks so completely out of place on that logo.
It sure does.
Like it really stands out. Where it's like you have the 2 stars and the 1 flag. Everything else is red. So like I get what you're trying to do by bringing in the old colors, but if you're gonna do that, you need to like balance it because here it doesn't.
Yeah, there's got to be a better way of incorporating the old color than the way they did it here. I agree.
But the Arizona Diamondbacks, think about that. Have that many variations of their jersey over. God, they've been around for 20 years, and this isn't even all the jerseys they've worn.
No, it's not.
I mean, you better figure something out, Arizona, and stick with it. Otherwise, you're going to end up like the Padres. Just saying.
Well, I think they've stuck with it. They've stuck with the red and black here for a while. I mean, they should have never left from the purple.
You know, I was not a big fan of the purple and the teal and all that, but now, they should have stuck with it because all you've done now is gone down the Padres route, the horrible route the Astros almost went down but corrected and came back and went back to their roots.
Yeah. I think what their problem was, or one of the reasons they wanted to change, was they share the division with the Rockies, who have done purple pretty well themselves.
Yeah.
So maybe you want to get away from the purple. Then you say, well, why don't we just go teal? Well, the Marlins were doing teal very well for a long time until they went directly to black, and now they're whatever they want to call themselves now. I think the red, the sand, it worked really well. I thought that was fine.
Yeah, I thought so
That's
too.
something they could have lived with. But what they've gone to now just doesn't.
Oh. I will come right out and say it. I think that their uniforms now are the worst baseball uniforms ever.
Oh, yeah.
Easily.
Between the snakeskin backs and the gradient ends of the sleeve.
Yeah, but see, I forget about the 70s uniforms like the White Sox and those collared things and all that. But these are worse, I think. These weren't meant to be a gimmick. These are meant to be legitimate uniforms, so I'm going to give them the nod based on that alone.
Yeah. But, baseball. Greg, it's your time of year.
Man. NASCAR and baseball. I'm pretty excited, I got to tell you. Anyway, that's going to do it for us, folks. Follow us on Twitter at Basically Sports. Subscribe via iTunes, Stitcher, Spreaker, and YouTube, and find us on Facebook. We will see you next week.
Later.
Adios.